Welcome to the Pharmacy Leaders Podcast with your host, Tony Guerra. The Pharmacy Leaders Podcast is a member of the Pharmacy Podcast Network, with interviews and advice on building your professional network, brand, and a purposeful second income from students, residents, and innovative professionals.
Hey, welcome to the Pharmacy Leaders Podcast Sunday edition. It is 5:30 a.m. on Saturday, and I will be going over a number of things with podcasts and blogs, but what I'm guessing is on the top of your minds is the match. And you have to turn in your results, I think, in just a little less than 2 weeks. So I reached out to Brandon Dyson, tldrpharmacy.com, and he has that book that you can get from his website, Mastering the Match. And in Chapter 1, he talks a little bit about exactly how the math works. And then in Chapter 12, he gives you a checklist of criteria so you can do a self-evaluation, sort of, on how to rank the programs. So I definitely recommend that you go check out tldrpharmacy.com for that. He has a couple of key points. The first is don't try to game it. Literally, just answer, where do you want to go most? And then what's your dream residency? And start there and work your way down. You do have to think about a lot of questions to get to that answer, but do you want a PGY2 within the program? Do you want to just be able to stay there? I know Sean Kane stayed up in Chicago for both of his PGY1, PGY2. Do you prefer an academic medical center if you're going to be going into a hospital? For me, I really wanted to be in a town where there was a school of pharmacy really close to where we were living, and we literally could walk to the local college. I mean, there's 30,000 students at the college itself, and then the pharmacy school was just right there. Do you want to focus on transplant patients, cancer patients in the future? Do you want to live in a big city with lots of fun things to do, although as a resident you're not going to get to see them too much? Or do you prefer a place close to home? And are you willing to move? What are you willing to do? And I think that he does a really great job in his book about explaining how you should go through that. But his last advice is don't try to guess which programs are more likely to match based on the interviews. Don't rank a place if you don't think you're going to be happy there. The math in the match gives your vote a better priority. So the advice to give is match. Rank the top school as the one that you would prefer to be at the most. PharmacyGirl.com, I really enjoyed her last blog post on a definition of coaching. I know that she's now doing coaching, and I think she's going to be someone that you can really talk to and really get a lot of good advice from. But that's Jackie Boyle at thepharmacygirl.com. In terms of what's going on with the podcast. So this week, we're going to have Riley Poe from Drake University on Monday. I actually just put out hey, I've got a couple of spots open in February on Instagram. I'm still trying to work on that. You know, I just broke 10,000 subscribers on YouTube, and I think I have like 200 or 300 on Instagram, so not much of a network there. But he was nice enough to say, hey, yeah, I'll go for it. And I got to tell you, I was just blown away when I interviewed him. I've never met the guy. He just, I did all the questions just from the top of my head. I just kind of went with the conversation, and his answers were just spot on all the time. And he has some really great advice about, what you should be doing as you're, kind of looking towards residency, kind of looking towards the future. And I thought if there's one guy that has given some great advice on that kind of match process, and we didn't talk directly about the match process, but the way that he talks about things, about goals, about the future, about taking risks, about going out there and doing things that are innovative and exciting, that I think you're going to get a ton of value from this Monday. On Wednesday, we're going to hear from Jane Allen, who is works at Hy-Vee as a store manager down here in Iowa. but she actually interviews two APPE students, which is kind of cool. My APPE student, Ashley Arndorfer, and then her own APPE student, Shannon Moore from Drake University. And then on Friday, I'll have the interview of my previous APPE student. I always like to interview them, get to know what their goals are, how the rotation fit into what they like, and of course give them some social exposure as well. It's always important that your LinkedIn or your resume literally speak with some audio. Okay. What else is going on? So I don't think I talked about it yet. The NAPLEX scores are out, the new ones for the 2017 class, and they went up. And I have to say that I really was, I was looking at the social boards, and I think the social boards have as the kind of moniker that pharmacy schools are taking whomever, and that the scores are going to continue to go down because pharmacy schools are relaxing admissions requirements. And we're seeing the opposite is true. Pharmacy schools are reducing class size to maintain to maintain how high their NAPLEX scores are, and then of course the quality of the program and so forth. So I think what we might see is a shrinking of pharmacy schools while we're seeing this massive expansion in the number of pharmacy schools. As a pre-pharmacy advisor, there are three things I think that students care about. The first is, are most students going to graduate from the program? And right now, attrition is around 11%. So 89% of students, on average, will graduate when they enter a pharmacy school. When they graduate, do they pass the NAPLEX and MPJE in the first time? And I think to the pharmacy school, I think it's a little bit unfair to attribute MPJE too much to them because so many students do residency that how are you as a school in one state going to help a student prepare for another state? But the NAPLEX scores, that's all on the pharmacy school, and I think that some of them have brought some in-house programs in, giving RX prep, those types of things, to make sure students are aware. Because I think the reason most students fail the NAPLEX is that they're obligers. That if you go to the GretchenRubin.com and do this quiz, it basically says, an obliger is somebody who will put others before themselves. And I think what happens is that when you're in rotations, you're always putting the rotation first and yourself and the NAPLEX study second. So I don't necessarily think that those that fail it are in any way less educated. It's the other way around. They may actually put others so far ahead of themselves that it actually ends up to their detriment. That being said, there was a score in the mid-50s, and I'm not going to mention the pharmacy school's name. That's, they know. And I just would be curious to see what ACPE does, because ACPE, that's the accrediting body. And, from their own website, they say if a program is accredited, this professional degree program leading to the Doctor of Pharmacy degree is judged to meet established qualification and education standards through initial and subsequent periodic evaluations. And if just a little over half of your class is graduating from pharmacy school, I just want to see if there's any kind of action there, because this school is not on probation. It's accredited, and seeing a score like that, and it's a tiny school. It's only about, I want to say it's only 50, so I think 28 of those 50 passed. But that is really just, I think something would need to be done, but I'm just curious if something does get done. Because we've seen over and over again that, people are asking, well, hey, let's reduce the number of pharmacy schools, and, they're not going to do anything about that. And supply-demand is going to take its course. And the last thing that I think students want is, if they graduate and pass the board exam, how likely are they going to get a job? And I don't think we have good data on that. You're going to see, and I've seen it over and over again, there is a ton of misleading information out there. And I've talked to the pre-pharmacy students I'm with, but you see over and over again that, 90% of graduates are getting jobs within X number of months, yet their NAPLEX score is, maybe 80% or 70% or even 60%. What you have to read is what they're saying is that this percentage of survey respondents are the ones that got jobs. And I got to tell you, if I graduated from pharmacy school and I got a survey asking me, hey, what you doing? What job do you have? And I didn't pass the NAPLEX, well, I'm not going to send that back. So be very careful. You're going to see, and I talked to my pre-pharmacy students about this, but you're going to see, hey, we got 99% jobs or 97% of our graduates got jobs within 6 months. Those data are completely skewed if you talk about the number of students in total versus the number of respondents to that survey, which is a completely different thing. Okay, so I'll get off my soapbox there. What's going on with the mothership, Pharmacy Podcast Network? There were a couple of, I love the Pharmacy Inspection Podcast because it's like super niche. I'm kind of super niche with pharmacy leaders, but I'm kind of the Hard Rock Cafe of love all, serve all in terms of who I'll interview, because I'm just love hearing from other people with interesting jobs and that have interesting careers. And, I'm super happy to talk to most anybody. But let me see. So the next one was this APPE rotation that Todd and Aaron put together. I'm not sure how that fits in because we're just seeing on social everybody's putting up their APPE sites that they just got. And I just got my rotation students. I'm going to have 6 students next year. Super happy to see them. And I only go local. I really only have students from Iowa and then the state over. But if you're interested in coming to here, to Iowa or central Iowa, maybe you have some connections here. I know this is bad, but a lot of times students make their decisions based on where they're going to be at the time or if they have housing, but I understand completely. If you're interested in teaching and you're interested in coming in the fall, I'd be happy to talk with your pharmacy school. But again, we're kind of at that time where if you might be able to change, or you might have a spot that it didn't work out the way you wanted. If you're interested in teaching, you will get more face-to-face teaching time here than many, many, many places out there. You will be in front of the classroom, small classrooms, large classrooms. You'll understand what it is to teach online. And then, of course, we'll put you out there on social media if that's something that is interesting to you. And then the last one from Pharmacy Podcast Network this week was mobile technology advancements in diabetes care, KingFit, and how I'm just kind of amazed what's going on with these types of apps and things like that for patients. And I think it's so important that we really start embracing the technology and understanding how we're going to work with them. Okay, YouTubers. So Kevin Yee had one on there talking a little bit about how we deal with the tragedy in Florida, for example, but also our patients are talking about it. And as a health professional, we're somebody that they come to. So another thing to talk about there. Okay, so I think that's it. I talked about my podcast. Oh, there was a couple of other podcasts I did want to talk about. Let's see. So Pharmacy Joe, this is a couple weeks back, had episode 268, How to Study and Pass BCPS or any BPS exam. That was really helpful. I'm not taking the BCPS, but I really liked it. Helix Talk had one about anticoagulation. Locked on Pharmacy at APHA, Nancy Alvarez, Dr. Autumn Stewart Lynch. Core Consult had that one on influenza. And Your Financial Pharmacist, they had it's one of the Tims. I forget which last names it is, but it's the Tim that's in Florida. And he and his wife had a conversation about how they came together and how that's a little bit bumpy at first. And I talked to my wife about things. We've got some possibly very high expenses coming up. One of our daughter's medicines might not be covered, so we might be putting a house payment into that very soon. And so I kind of follow those guys, and we're established, so we're not in the, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? But certainly, when you're paying, $15,000, $18,000 a year for a single medication, it's going to impact your life in some way. So I'll kind of keep you updated on that and how we deal with it, because I think it would be valuable, because I know that some of you guys are dealing with things, and certainly the graduates with their new student loan debt and things like that. So, but otherwise, have a good week. Excited that APHA is coming up in a couple of weeks here. Yeah, it's not far away. And I will be there, so I hope to connect with you if I haven't connected with you before.
Support for this episode comes from the audiobook Memorizing Pharmacology, a relaxed approach. With over 9,000 sales in the United States, United Kingdom, and Australia, it's the go-to resource to ease the pharmacology challenge. Available on Audible, iTunes, and Amazon.com, in print, ebook, and audiobook. Thank you for listening to the Pharmacy Leaders Podcast with your host, Tony Guerra. Be sure to share the show with the hashtag #PharmacyLeaders.